was a lot of outside factors that we had to just kind of shut off and go out and play. But there was a lot of things. It wasn't just go out and play football like it normally is, and so it's hard to judge based off of that because there were so many outside factors that played into this. We'll see them again, and we'll have another opportunity to play against them. But right now, we just want to learn from the film, learn from the mistakes that we made, and then get ready for BC.
What did you do during the delay?
Tried to stay locked in as possible. Tried to eat something. You eat lunch and then you come to the game expecting to play at a certain time, and then you start getting hungry. And as a professional athlete, you're in a routine on game day, right? And so when your routine is kind of out of whack, you feel like you're personally out of whack. It just was an interesting night all together. Our first drive, the headset wasn't working at all, so it was constant and hard to get communicated plays in and out. I thought we had a good starting drive for what we had, and then obviously we missed the field goal, but those things happen. It was one of those things where it just wasn't our night. I think so. I think it just seemed like everybody was kind of flat, both teams. It was hard to score points tonight. Even a great Winnipeg offense, our defense played well, but it's just very difficult to move the ball in those elements. I think they had 17 points, right? It's very difficult to stay on the field in those situations. I felt like the turnovers caused us to get down on ourselves, and that caused us to be a little bit more flatter than we normally are instead of staying positive. But the good news is we're going to learn from it. We're going to watch the film. We're going to bury it, and we got another opportunity next week. I'm thankful to be healthy and get out of this one healthy, just like I know everybody else who made it out healthy and have an opportunity to play next week to wash the bad taste out of our mouth.
There's a game that will go against BC on Monday, the kind of thing that you look the game right or something like that.
Not at all. We focus on ourselves, and that's what you do in professional sports. As soon as you start comparing yourself to other people or trying to watch other people, that's when you get out of your game. So we just got to learn from this ourselves. Obviously, we'll watch the game in terms of strategy against BC, but I'm a big fan of the CFL, but not during the season. I'll always go back and watch games, but it's focusing on ourselves first and foremost.
I know injuries are part of football. It seems like there's another bunch of injuries this week. What's the challenge like for trying to fight?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think the biggest thing about our injuries this week is they happen so late in the week, where you get guys practicing 2 days, and now you have a young guy who has to come in. He gets 1 day of practice, and he's got to go out and play in the game, and that's hard. That's hard for anybody. We lost a lot of leaders as well. Avery's obviously one of our leaders. Ciante is one of our leaders. Ruffin's one of our leaders. P.O. on offense, one of our offensive leaders. So we lost a lot of leaders and a lot of guys who have played meaningful football games, and that's not an excuse. It's just how football goes sometimes, and that kind of started off this weird week for us was with those injuries. I don't think I've ever seen so many injuries during a practice like that where you lose guys for a game, and so I know it's not serious things, and we should get those guys back sooner rather than later, and that's going to be exciting when we're at full strength again.
Cody, that's 14 sacks in 3 games. Not a good number.
Yeah, it's tough out there. That's a great defensive line, right? They put up those sack stats against just about everybody. A little bit different when you're down 17 points and you got to hold on the ball a little bit longer. You kind of have to get away from the run game a little bit, even though it's pouring down rain. So didn't make it easy on those guys. Obviously, the situation didn't do that. But I'm just proud of the way that those guys fought, dealing with some injuries. But I got all the respect in the world for those guys because they get no credit at all. And I know they're going to be better, and that's just a tough Winnipeg defensive line.
All right, next to Cody.
Jason Williams told us that he felt the offense flat tonight. Do you agree with his assessment and how you explain it?
Well, I don't know, flat. I mean, we drove the ball down the first drive and didn't come away with points. And that was just here and there where we'd get a couple plays and then get off the field, a couple plays and get off the field, and they weren't 2 and out. It was a couple good plays and then a stall here and there. So. I mean, were we good enough? No, absolutely not. So, flat or not, I mean, I just don't think we executed at a high enough level all throughout the night. Playing against a defense that's very opportunistic, and it's got a great front to get pressure on you. And, obviously then when you're down against a team, you get a little bit out of what you'd like to do, even though we tried sticking with the run and doing everything regardless, but it still gets you out of some of the things you'd like to do.
What did you think of the early pass interference call you challenged and lost?
Well, I mean, you look at it, and I thought the receiver was sliding, and I thought the Kwa timed it up basically perfectly. You don't have to be looking back at the ball for a PI. I mean, so I thought he timed it up very well. And upstairs, they thought the same, and we don't get it. And then you get the Austin Mack one where we seemingly are going back to the middle of the field, and it doesn't get called in our favor. But those are calls that are going to happen throughout the game, and you just can't. I don't look at that as reasons why. Just those are calls that just don't go your way, and you got to fight through it. We were still, had the ball down 2 scores with 2 minutes to go, still at the end of the game as badly as we played offensively, and still had a chance there. So, that's what you got to do. And our guys just kept fighting all night, and that's again what we hang our hats on. I'm very proud of the group for, but there's a lot to get better at. We need to do that ASAP.
Did you have anything of note to say to them during the 2-hour rain delay or however?
No,
long
I mean,
it was?
no one knew what was going on, and you go in there once or twice and say, hey, we're going to get an update in 30 minutes. Hey, we're going to get an update in 20 minutes. I mean, at some point you just say, we'll let you know when you know. And, to get told, we felt like it was going to be a little later, 8:30 or 9 o'clock start, and then it's, hey, we're going to go in 10 minutes. And it's going to be a 35-minute warm-up and then go. So it's professional sports. Our guys are got to be ready, on a moment's notice. And, I thought they did a good job being ready. Ultimately we just didn't go our way tonight. I give them a lot of credit because they're obviously won a lot of games over the last, number of years. They showed championship heart tonight, in my opinion, and we couldn't match that for 4 quarters.
Do you have any comment on your run defense or your tackling tonight defensively?
I mean, they're a good run team. They stick with the run regardless. Oliveira had some broken tackles, absolutely, but he ran hard too. And our guys, some of them they could have been there. Maybe they can make the play, but all night they were on the field a lot too. And we could have helped them offensively to keep them more rested and all that stuff. But we'll look at the film and we'll get better. It ain't from a lack of effort, which I love, and my guys do tackle well. That's one of the things that they have shown through the first 2 games, and I know this is just something we'll just learn from and get better at.
Now that we have a 3-game sample, do you see the lack of production from receivers not named Julian Green or Mack as a problem for this offense right now?
No, because ultimately this offense, you can each week, as you get targets, you got to make the most of them. Our offense does run through those 2 guys. The 3rd, 4th, or 5th options, they get the 1st or 2nd option every now and then, and they just got to be able to make plays when the ball comes their way. So, ultimately, you can't feed everybody all the time. It's just at the end of the day, defenses dictate where the ball goes. We try to, have game plans that are designed around a couple guys, and then the rest of those guys are part of the progressions that we face. If we can get to them in our progressions, we do, and they just got to make plays when we get there. So I'm not worried whatsoever. We're just going to, like I said, get back to the drawing board, correct the things we need to correct, and then ultimately get back to work.
One of the plays when Cody had a bit of time in connection, he does a 69-yard commitment, right? Does that sort of give a glimpse of what this offense could be if the connection?
Yeah, I mean, again, we give them credit. They're a great defense, and they can create pressure with two of their guys are as good as they are in this league. So, when they're one-on-ones, it's a tough battle no matter what. And but I do know, our offense, if we have the time, our quarterback's in rhythm, all those things, we've got the weapons to be able to utilize it, and we have the run game to be able to do that too. We just got to get back to the drawing board a little bit and just become a little bit more efficient as an offense. That's the big thing right now, in my opinion. In order to stay on the field, you got to convert some of the ones that we've had that we weren't. And then again, just it goes back to correcting things. So we got to do a really good job this week of defining what those are and make those things happen.
Any worries about your running game, especially William, that seem can't get any traction on that?
Yeah, it's something we'll look at. We'll figure out the things that we need to do better. Putting him in either bigger sets or smaller sets. The way we allow him to run, whether it's in pistol or gun, the things that he has his strengths, and sticking to it. We still are running the ball at the end of the game. We're not ever going to abandon the run, but it's about being efficient in the run too. And so it allows you to when you're picking up those first downs to allow to stay giving them the ball. So, ultimately when you don't pick up the first downs, it's kind of hard to keep giving them the ball. So, ultimately that's what we'll look at and correct.
All right. Merci, coach.